Hey everybody, welcome to a Tatter-a-fact at the Girlz Ink studio in Las Vegas. And I feel great today. I feel so good today because our guest, my guest, is someone that can talk the science of pigments. And when we first spoke, there was just this instant connection, just crazy vibing going on, and I didn't want to hang up. And so I am so excited to have her here today. So please welcome Tamia Haynes. Hi, Tamia.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I'm so excited too, and I feel the same way. It's really hard to find people sometimes in the industry that really know the science behind all of what you're doing.
Yes.
To the skin.
Yeah, 100%. And we had that Zoom call a couple months ago, and I don't know if you remember, but I was like, I don't want to hang up.
Oh no, I remember.
You
like
do
it was
remember.
Yesterday.
Yeah, we were like two big old nerds, like just talking science and pigments and theory and just all this great stuff. And it was so exhilarating for me because I miss that. I love those types of conversations. And like you said, there's not a lot of people that really can have those deep, thorough conversation and accurate that are accurate and really know their stuff. And so yeah, so I couldn't wait to have you on here today.
Thank you.
Let me just give a little background. So you are Tamia Haynes, and with your company's name is Naturalistic Brows.
Correct.
That's where they can find you on Instagram. And you are in like Orange County, not far from Huntington Beach.
Correct.
Yeah, I know.
I'm in Westminster, California.
Right on.
It's a little teeny tiny city within a whole bunch of other cities.
Yeah. How far are you from Huntington?
Oh God, probably maybe 3 miles, not even.
Oh my God. So you could rollerblade there.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of near Huntington Beach. I'm like 3 exits from Long Beach. I'm like right on the cusp of almost everything.
Oh man, I love it.
10 minutes from like Costa Mesa.
Oh, you're so lucky, man. I love that area. Kat and I go to Huntington Beach at least once a year. It's one of our favorite little beach cities. So
I lived there for 6 years. I live in Long Beach now, but I lived in Huntington for almost 6 years. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So how long have you been doing PMU?
So I have been doing PMU this year, 6 years in June.
6 years in June.
So yep, and honestly, people think that's a long time. That's not that long. It has not been that long.
Yeah, thank you.
But I am one of those people. I have to know the why of everything.
Yeah.
So I dig a lot deeper than just tattooing or I dig a lot deeper than the surface, what's on the surface. And then also I do so many varieties and different types of skin that, I got some good case studies, Teryn.
Yeah. I bet you do. I do too. We're so much alike where I really needed and craved the why behind everything, the why behind the why. I mean, yes. I was lucky to have a really brilliant, smart mentor who, she would tell me something and tell me why, and then I would ask, well, why? I mean, I was full of whys, and so I love that. I never take anything at face value. I was always somebody that really, took everything, as a grain of salt. You study it. Right. Because even back when I started 20 years ago, although there wasn't the internet like there is today, there was still a lot of misinformation, a lot of untruths, a lot of marketing crap just to sell their product. Now it's really, you know, the industry's really inundated with it because of the internet,
Right.
you know, and I know it bothers you the way it bothers me, all the misinformation, all the untruths, all that stuff, you know, because it affects artists. It affects especially the newer artists coming into the industry. It really affects them, and which ends up affecting the industry as a whole. So
Correct.
right. So you're a lot like me, where you are just on this mission to get out science, the truth. Yeah, science-based, theory-based, experience-based information, facts. And I love that.
Yes.
And okay, so let's start. So before we start digging in, so because we're going to talk about melanin-rich skin, all about melanin-rich skin, which I'm really excited to have that conversation with you. But before we dig in to that topic, I do think there was a little something that I know you're giggling, I'm giggling, because we're both really kind of giddy over it, but that you would like.
I'm goofy though, Teryn.
You're goofy over it? All right.
Yeah.
That you want to share with everybody. Have you made any announcements at all, or is this going to be your debut?
I made little tidbits here and there.
Okay.
But I was kind of just waiting for all of it to kind of pan out.
All right.
It happened. And I am so excited that I am going to be having a melanin-rich skin line with LI pigments.
Yes.
And, yes. And the colors are going to have some contrast. So that's what, you know, I find with melanin inks, a lot of times all the colors kind of look the same.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm going to come in and kind of make it melanin-rich skin, but more of like a multicultural melanin-rich skin. You know, whether you have yellow undertones or, you know, bluish, you know, from like fits 3 all the way to 6. And I'm going off of like, I know people don't use it all the time, but the Lancer Fitzpatrick scale of the regions of where people, you know, where people make up those regions, like from South Asian. Sometimes they're darker than me, Teryn.
Yeah. Well, when we're talking melanin rich, right? I think.
Yeah, we're not just talking about, but I have to say it because sometimes when you talk about melanin rich, you automatically go to only black.
Right. Like you think the black women, black clients.
Yes. Yes. And not that I'm opposed to that. I am a black woman to my core. But because of the diverse types of clients that I have worked on, I've seen a lot. And I really wanted to create something that was for everyone and in between that fits 3 and fits 6. Now, we all know that the Fitzpatrick scale is a guide. It doesn't cover everyone, but you can use it to your advantage to you know, kind of look at like your skins, your client's skins and their undertones.
Right.
Oh, and by the way, Teryn, your book is amazing.
So Beyond the Epidermis.
Definitely need to go check that out, and because it will really help you in your practice so much. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much like what I want to create. You know, I have this inspiration where, like, they used to have like all these products, Teryn, for hair, right? All these products for hair, but they never catered to like the people in between. It was like, you know, it was like black or white, like, you know, and then what about the curly hair? Like, you know, like multicultural, like everything like in between. So that's kind of what I'm doing with the pigments.
Yeah.
It's filling in the gaps in between and just not trying to leave anyone out. of those gaps, but still creating a line for melanin rich skin. I don't even know how else to put it. I forget the girls that it was Mixed Chicks. So they made the company Mixed Chicks, and it was the first time in life that I didn't have to buy 10 products to put in my hair. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like what I want to, kind of mix into the tattoo world. So we could, do better and have better healed work. And I will tell you that it's not all about the pigment. So I'm not saying that. You got to know your techniques per skin type, your needles, all that kind of stuff too. But a good high quality ink and product can make it a lot easier.
Yeah, understood. A lot of artists, when their colors aren't coming back as expected, a lot of them, automatically blame the pigment, and the artist is equally as responsible, if not more.
I agree.
Than the pigment manufacturer, right? Because we can have, the best quality, highest quality, color balanced pigments. And if they're being used on the wrong skin type, if the wrong technique is being applied, if you're going too deep, too shallow, all kinds of outside variables and factors, then that, wonderful, beautiful, perfectly color balanced pigment may not perform, and it may come back.
No, a lot of times it'll go back to the base, base color, because
exactly.
you're not applying
exactly
it correctly.
But you know what really kind of gets my goat these days to me, and I don't know if it's generational, but a lot of people don't want to put the work in. They don't want to study, and they don't want to pay for good quality color theory classes and invest in this knowledge. I mean, we have, LI wrote a color index, like a CIC, and it is so in depth with each color, the base, description, how cool it is, the temperature of the pigment.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
It's like a Bible for all the colors in the Aqua and Velvet line. And, everybody has access to that, yet not very many people read it. We will get the most basic questions even after emailing them the CIC. And so, yeah, it can be really frustrating sometimes.
Oh, no, I get frustrated a lot. A whole lot.
And you know how I feel? To me, I feel if you really love something, if you love this craft,
you master it.
You want to master it. No one has to ask you to put the hours in, the hundreds and thousands of hours in that it takes to learn the science, learn the theory, master the skills. No one should have to ask you that. It shouldn't be a chore. It should just be something that you naturally want to do if you love this craft, and this is what you've chosen to do for the rest of your life. Yet we're seeing a huge percentage of artists not doing that, and I don't really understand why. I don't understand it.
I get so many DMs with retention problems.
Yes.
I get DMs where the color shifted or changed, and I'm like, I just use that color, it's fine.
Yeah. I think what the industry's figuring out,
because the thing is, you can't learn this in 2 days, Tim.
No.
You have to, even after class, even if you took a 2-week class, okay, you still have to continue education. 7 years in, 10 years in, whatever the case is, you can't let your ego get in the way and be like, oh, I know this, I know everything. A lot of times they'll blame it on the client as well. They'll be like, oh, well, the client
bled, or the client picked, or they didn't follow aftercare, right? There's all kinds of excuses.
Exactly.
Except looking at, their own selves and their own choices, right? That they made on that particular client. And I think a lot of the problem that is now finally coming to light, because, you know, a year ago, 2 years or 3 years, you couldn't even mention the single needle without people getting so upset with you. Like that, like choosing the single needle and using the single needle on every single skin. I mean, that's doesn't work. And that
it does not work.
It does not work.
Tear up some skin.
But you couldn't say that a while back to me, and then because all the artists that use the single needle, the industry would just come, you know, I mean, they would just
They'll come for you.
They'll come for you. But I never stopped, you know, talking about that. But I don't talk about it in an disrespectful way towards a single needle. You know, I like all needles. All needles have a place. I'm a tattooer, for Pete's sake. But when you have the majority of the industry out there using the single needle and only 1 or 2 movements, whip shading, maybe pendulum, on every single skin, you know, every single skin type, well, you're going to end up a frustrated artist, not getting the results you want for your client.
It's not going to be
a
consistent.
lot. It's not going to be consistent. Yeah, and you learned that the hard way.
That's what made me better, and I started venturing out and doing other things because that's how I was taught to.
I'm going to say this: I
was taught with a single needle. Don't use anything else. Always use. Well, when I first started, I used the inorganic ink, but it was like, you know, don't venture out to other inks. Don't, like, you know, and it's just simply not true. And then for like about my first year and a half, 2 years, I would wonder, like, why would some, you know, and I'll be honest, it would always be the people, the clients with like the younger skin or not thick skin or things of that nature, maybe not like high melanin skin, maybe clients from like 25 to 35, they would always come back fine.
Right.
If they had nice skin.
Right.
Right. But it's the other clients, which I say, Teryn, I feel like that is the majority. What you see on social media is only what people want to show you.
That's right. The pretty stuff.
The pretty stuff, right? So that's not really who you're booking. Like, if you're really, truly, like, really booked and you're really busy, you're getting all types of skin types.
Right.
I get everything from a 80-year-old lady to, I mean, I had a lady come all the way from Africa to come and see me because she's like, I have not seen myself on anybody's page where it looks nice. Like, you know, I do think that sometimes being different does kind of like put you in like a box of your own. Yeah. But you know what? It's okay. And you know, at first, the first couple of years, I would really struggle with that. And then after, like, you know what?
You know what? I've always been different too, Tamia. Versatile, curious, thoughtful, and being different. You know, sometimes we get ostracized for being different. You know, sometimes you can get, you know, praised for being different. But I think what being different, we're trendsetters. When you're different, you're a trendsetter. I mean, you need to be different to be a trendsetter.
That's right.
And so that's what I love about artists that are, you know, different. They're speaking up and they're getting, you know, honest information out there to other artists and the industry.
For sure.
Yeah, and Instagram, me too.
I totally agree.
I talk about Instagram all the time. It's like people are filtering, and it should be not allowed. I mean, I don't know. It should be not allowed because it's so misrepresentative of what the clients really look like when they leave our studios. And you never see the healed work. They're just posting highly filtered, you know, pictures of, you know, their ombre brows, and the videos are being filtered now, and that's just not real life. So
no, and the thing is, you know, I watch tattoo artists all the time. You know, I have several tattoos. I ask them so many questions when I get my own tattoos, And it's that kind of sad because they don't respect us because of that.
No, they do not. No, the body tattoo industry has never really respected us, Tamia, because I was a body tattoo artist for many, 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 many years. So I would see my permanent makeup clients during the day, and I'd be down to the tattoo shop by, about 5, and I would tattoo in the tattoo shop, all evening long. So I was, I had, a foot in both industries, and I used to, my fellow tattoo artists, I mean, they all loved me. I had a great relationship with them, but boy, didn't they like to poke fun and give me shit, about our industry and, how we do things and all that stuff. And now, they talk about all the filtered work and how it's just so not real. And I think my biggest problem with it is it's such a disservice to the new artists coming in the industry, because you and I, people that are a little bit more veteran, we know that that's all filtered and fake. That's not real. People like you and I, right, people like you and I that are veterans, we're not trying to live up to those expectations, and we're not comparing our work to that because it's not real. But these new artists coming in, that there are new artists that don't know that, and they are looking to that filtered work they're seeing on Instagram. They are comparing themselves and their work to that on Instagram, and they're feeling defeated, if not depressed and discouraged and ready.
For sure.
Yes, I mean, we hear it all the time at Girlz Ink. We get so many messages on that.
I hear, and I always have to tell them, listen, that is definitely, if you went to their class or you saw what they did in person, and not that it's bad or anything. I'm not saying that. There's some awesome artists out there, but the thing is, you know what, Teryn, even too light and airy, I just learned over time that just doesn't even work. It doesn't work.
It doesn't even heal in the skin, Tamia.
It doesn't heal in the skin properly.
I could go on Instagram right now and probably show you 100 eyebrows that when you blow them up and look at them, there's hardly any pigment in there. There's hardly nothing in there. It is not going to withstand the 7-day healing process. It's not going to be there. And then how does the client feel about that? How does the client feel about that?
My clients will be pissed.
My clients would be pissed. They don't want to keep coming back. I mean,
you're talking about $600 to $900 people charge. Right?
Yeah.
You need to give them what they pay for. Now, I'm not saying not to have you need to have conversations with the client and know what they want, but you need to do proper saturation on brows, even lips, or whatever tattoo, permanent makeup work that you're doing. Right. It has to be properly saturated. And I used to when I first started saturating my work more, I mean, they would come for me, Teryn. They'd be like, oh my God, that's so dark, or that's whatever. And I would be thinking, well, dang, it's not even that dark to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, when I started mastering healed work, I would say about 3.5 years ago, my work is very consistent. Yes. It comes back healed beautifully, sometimes not even needing a touch-up. It comes back the way I intended it to look.
That's right. That's right. And you can predict your healed results now.
That's right.
You said something very key. You focused and mastered on your healed result, not focusing and trying to master the fresh look to impress, Instagram.
100%.
Right. And that's
100%.
Right.
That's so much more important to me. And people don't realize you'll get so much more referrals that way.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
Exactly. All right. So let's get into some melanin skin.
Okay.
Okay. So some of the differences between melanin skin. So I work really closely with Darlene and Mattia, who own LI, Black women, and we created the Queen line a few years ago, and we started really talking about the differences between dark skin versus light skin, and in particular, black skin, right? Darlene really wanted to do a series of pigments specifically formulated for Black women, Black clients. So that's where your line's going to be different, where Queen is for Black skin, like fits, 5 and 6s, maybe, your line is going to be for all ethnic groups, all skin types that fall into that melanin-rich skin type, like Middle Eastern women, Asian women, every all-inclusive. Doesn't matter ethnic background. Yours is just going to be a little bit more diverse. More diverse.
Yes. So more diverse and a little bit broader.
And a little bit broader, which I think is going to be a really great complement to the Queen line.
I agree.
So when I first started doing permanent makeup, like 22 years ago, I think my third client was a Black woman, right? Because I was in a salon. I was in a salon, a 10,000 square foot salon, renting a room, and it was a diverse salon. There was white, Asian, Black hairdressers, and I was friends with them all. And so they were all, that's
how it should be, Teryn.
That's how it should be, right? And so it was just, there was about 30 hairdressers. This is a very big salon. And I was just friends or friendly with all the hairdressers. And so I was putting my brows and eyeliner on all of the hairdressers, so for free, so their clients could see my work on them. So I did a gal named Coco, and she was a hairdresser at the salon I worked at, and she was like the third client I ever did. And I remember it really totally freaked me out because I had been doing, I had done like a couple of light-skinned ladies, and I could see the color. I could see the color. There was contrast of color. I lay Coco down, and I have to use a dark color on dark skin. She was probably a Fitz 5, if not a Fitz 5.5. So really dark. And of course, I'm using a dark color. So dark color in dark skin, there was no contrast to me. I remember I couldn't see it. I couldn't tell if I was in my design, out of my design. And it really freaked me out. And I'm like, oh God, Coco, please, I'm just like praying to God, please let this heal okay. And it did. But because you don't really see dark color oxidize as contrasting in dark skin as you do with the lighter skin types, I started kind of outlining my brow design, so which kept me within my design. So that was really helpful. But in my very first ombre brow I ever did was on a Black client. My first year. I mean, there was no such thing as ombre brows back then. So I called it a transition brow. I called it a transition brow. But
they're calling it all kinds of stuff today.
All kinds of stuff today. Yeah. But so what I'm just trying to get at is my entire career, I have been tattooing on Caucasian women, Black women, Asian women, Middle Eastern women. My entire 22 years, my clientele has been extremely diverse. And I didn't realize that there were no other Black artists, and artists were not seeing Black clientele. And so I started touring the United States and teaching and lecturing all over the United States. So that surprised me. I thought there were Black artists throughout the US doing this work. There were no Black artists. And I thought everybody that was a permanent makeup artist were working on Black women, Asian women.
Yes.
And that was not true.
No, there's still today so many myths. It's gotten a lot better, but I mean, you proved them wrong, of course, because it helped that you were a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
But I remember even when I started back in 2018, they would be like, you can't do that on that skin type, or that dark, she's too dark. Don't do that on her skin type. Like, and this is simply not true.
It is not
it's
true.
It's just simply that you don't know how to do it.
That's exactly right. So that's when I put together my color theory course. And in my color theory course, I have a brown to black section. I talk about black skin because no one understood black skin. I was getting beautiful results on all my black clients right up until I met Darling and Mattia. But then once I started working with Darling and Mattia at LI, them being black women, that I really got a really wonderful education and insight on the skin itself, and why this, why that, why I was experiencing this. I had already worked out through those issues, but I didn't necessarily know why those challenges existed until I met Darlene and Mattia, and they really, really educated me on dark skin. So one of the differences is that melanin-rich skin, dark skin, tends to be more oilier.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So do you want to go into that a little bit deeper?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Do you want to go into that a little bit deeper?
We could definitely go into that. So, melanin skin produces a greater amount of sebum oils,
right?
Than lighter skin tones, which actually can encourage pigment migration.
Yes.
So that's a huge difference. So I feel like a lot of times that's why like a hybrid or organic ink works a lot better, because it has carbon and it's a lot easier to implant into the skin. Also, melanin skin tends to be a lot thicker. At times. So you might not be able to use the same technique that you would use on a fits 1 or fits 2. And I preach this all the time, especially when I'm getting DMs of like hypopigmentation and things of that nature. And if the audience doesn't know what hypopigmentation is, that's when the skin turns white around it. So usually with tattooing, it's very temporary because it's caused by trauma. But you can simply avoid that by maybe using something that's a little faster, maybe a medium taper, not a long taper, and just using a bigger needle helps a ton, because it's implanting into the skin with a lot more ease.
Yeah. I think, my experience on some of my black clients is, that some of them are oilier, thicker skin, more textured skin.
Yes.
And so for that skin type, I don't think the single needle is a good choice, because especially if you're getting into those small diameters, right?
I usually use a 7 mag. I use the curved mag because it's a little bit softer.
Yeah.
I will go in, like maybe for pictures with a 1RL or maybe like a 3RL 0.18 and kind of stipple it just to give it a little bit more texture just for the picture, which takes me about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But other than that, I do tend to use like a mag on most occasions, and that's because things have happened to me that we usually don't talk about, like and I'm even still kind of scared to talk about, which I talk about in my presentations. Oh, and by the way, we will be in Vegas, me and Teryn. We will be both presenting in Vegas. I cannot believe I'm
the Vegas PMU conference in October.
Yes, the Vegas PMU conference. Where I will be showing some case studies of how hyperpigmentation, sometimes that single needle or not using the proper ink has made it worse. And sometimes it can lead to permanent and not temporary all the time. Luckily for me, it was temporary and only lasted like 6 to 12 weeks. My clients are so nice because they let me tattoo them again. But again, you learn from that. And I'm not going to just say like, oh, that was the client's fault or whatever. I want to know why that happened. So you know what I did, Teryn? I took it to my dermatologist. I took the picture to my dermatologist. I was like, can you please tell me what's happening here?
Because it's scary.
It's scary, right? Yeah. And ever since I was at SBCP and I've done a couple of webinars on like just like this particular topic, people are starting to come out. Oh, like, oh my God, that happened to me. I didn't know why. And I asked the trainer and they said, oh, I did something wrong. And it's not that you did something wrong, but sometimes certain needles can overwork the skin and it will cause a little bit of trauma. Yeah.
And I think what some people don't consider is if you have let's just talk about the tip of the needle. The very tippity tip of the needle, right? If you're using a single needle and it's a medium or long taper.
It's like a stiletto.
Yes. And it's of a lower diameter size, like a 0.20, 0.20, 0.18. Some of them are getting into 0.18. I don't get why anyone would need that small of a diameter needle. But imagine how frail and the tip of that needle is. And so if they're using...
Especially if you're flickering.
Especially if you're flickering and you're on thicker skin that is more textured, you're going to dull the tip of that needle, maybe bend it. Maybe you might bend it a little bit. And you're gonna wear down that tip, and then that can end up causing more trauma. So if you're taking a single needle to those skin types, and you don't want to upgrade to a bigger needle, you want to stay with a single needle, then it would behoove you to change out that needle. Like you can't
to a 0.30 or a 0.35 at least.
Yeah, and maybe even maybe use two different needles during the procedure. Maybe like halfway through, change out that needle and put in a brand new needle to make sure that tip stays nice and sharp. That's what tattooers do. Body tattooers, if they're in,
I do it all the time.
Yeah, but I do it
all the time. You know, melanin-rich skin, it's more prone to an inflammatory reaction. So, I mean, I do it all the time. I'll test the tail with a few needles, and if those needles are not working, I'm gonna go get another one.
Right.
There's sometimes I have 5 needles on my tray because a few of them that what I thought would work didn't work. And you know what? I'm here to tell you that that's okay.
Right.
Because it's better to not cause a bunch of scar tissue on the client's skin. And then I have to go back to those healed results. If that needle's not gliding across the skin properly, you're probably not going to have good healed results.
Yeah.
So, and I get shit for it all the time, but it's okay.
No, it's okay.
I've done thousands of clients. Thousands. And you learn. I wouldn't even call them errors. I would just call them like a learning curve.
Lessons.
Yeah, they're lessons or whatever. So it makes you better. It makes you a better artist. If something is not happening the way that it's supposed to, change up your tray.
Right.
Something needs to change.
Something needs to change. Yeah.
Something needs to change.
Yeah, especially if it's happening consistently, right? Because I think even the best artists can choose be choosing the right pigments, the right needle, executing great technique, and every now and then the result can be like, that's not quite what I expected. It can happen to any of us. But if it's happening consistently and all the time, then yeah, I agree with you. There's something in your formula that's not working. You have not found your secret sauce yet, and you need to start playing either with your technique, your needle, your pigment, your depth. Something needs to be adjusted in the way that
totally. And then the other thing that I see a lot on melanin rich skin, and and it's not with everybody, but I see it a lot, is a lot of times when they do show healed work, you can only see the outline more. You could see the outline a lot, but then the inside is so muted.
Yeah, I don't like that
Yeah.
look.
Yeah, and I don't like that look. And that's another reason why I want to come out with my own pigment line. And I'm so happy that it's with LI, because it's gonna be made by melanin, two melanin queens for other melanin people.
Yeah. And Blanca,
not that that always makes a difference, but it's made for us by us.
Yeah, and one of their formulators is Hispanic. She has dark skin, but she's Hispanic. Yeah, Blanca. So
and I do a ton of Hispanics, and even them, they have so much red in their skin. So
well, wait till you start working with them. You're gonna fall in love with the ladies at LI. You really are.
Yes.
You are. They're so.
But you can't put the same thing on everybody. So even sometimes using the darkest color is not even the proper way to think about it. People are these days are very against modification.
Yeah.
I see it all over Instagram. Don't modify, blah blah blah. I think more people do it now with like the yellow and the orange now. But I mean, it's okay to modify
Yeah, sometimes you need to
over modify to change the color or the density or the tone of the ink.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, if you're gonna use like the darkest brown on like a high fixed client, you might want to add a little orangish red to it.
100%.
Because their skin has so much blue tones and cool tones to it.
Right. Yeah.
So, and then I find that my brows come back even on the darkest client, and they still look so brown.
Yeah, mine do too. And I use, look, we need to modify, add warmth on some of our clients. And so you have to understand, first you got to be able to assess skin correctly.
Yes.
Right? You got to be able to assess skin correctly and assess the undertone colors as well as the overtone colors and the traits of the overtone. Yes. And then choose the right target color, choose the right modifier if needed, right? You may not need an orange. Maybe a yellow orange is going to be appropriate.
A yellow orange.
Maybe a red orange is going to be more appropriate. Choose the right modifier, the most ideal modifier for that client.
And then sometimes you can mix the yellow and the orange.
100%. Yes. And this is what young artists, new artists, any artist really needs to study and learn to master their healed in tonal results. It's a must. It's a must. You have to put the work in.
Everybody's tone should not look the same when they come back.
Right. No. And it's like I was like I had a when the industry when we started seeing a lot of Black artists come into the industry, right? I had a lot of Black artists taking my color theory course. And one conversation that I got into with a Black artist was, she was like, well, Black women don't have undertones and overtones. They're just different shades of brown to black. And I'm like, I don't really agree with you on that. Because I don't
agree with that either.
Yeah. Now maybe like fits 5, fits 6, the skin can be so dark that no, you're not really seeing the undertone per se, like you can on lighter skin, more translucent skin.
Correct.
But there are still, so now you're looking at the overtone, right? And I always, when I'm looking at dark skin, Black skin, as you mentioned earlier, on the overtone, there are blues, there's grays, there's purples, 100% purples, goldens,
Yes.
Yeah, and that may not be undertone colors per se, but those are overtone colors that you can visually see on different women, and those need to be detected and identified, and then choose your choose your target color and modifier if needed to neutralize those blues, those purples, those grays, and so many people just are not doing that. All they see is different shades of brown, to black. That's it. That's what they see.
No, I totally agree. And it's why I think it almost is so. Sometimes with me, I'm like, sometimes I get frustrated and I get tired, but then the part of me that loves PMU so much, I just want to empower other people. I want to empower other people with facts, the science behind it, and proof as well.
Yeah.
And I know, that healed picture sometimes might not get as many likes or as many comments, but I'm gonna keep posting my healed work, because that's what people need to see. They need to see consistent results, and you see how it comes back. Sometimes, Teryn, I'll even post an educational post on something like maybe it didn't come back the way I thought it did.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is, I think that other artists will relate to you if you're not just always so perfect, because that's not the real world that we live in.
Right.
You're gonna have some hiccups, and the thing is, do you know what to do when you have a hiccup?
Right.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of where I'm at, and what I've mastered. It's okay to change it up. It's okay not to do the same thing for each client. Honestly, even for my mature clients, I don't really like organic ink. Or hybrid ink. I love inorganic because it just works so much better on their skin.
Yeah.
So even that, it's just not for everybody, right?
No, it's not. And so
it's not. Nothing is one size fits all. It does. It frustrates me, but people like you and I feel like the industry will catch up. My kids always say, "Catch up, mustard," so they'll catch up.
Yeah, no, that's cute. No, sometimes you feel like, you get exhausted. You feel like no one's listening, and you're talking to a brick wall. But that's okay, Mattia. I called you Mattia because we were just talking about Mattia.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, Tamia, because people are listening to you, to me, and others that know their stuff. They are listening. They are listening, and I just think it's changing. Empowering one artist at a time rather than trying to take on the whole industry at once.
Right.
That's what I try to remind myself of, that I'm not trying to change the industry as a whole. I'm just trying to educate, help, and mentor, one artist at a time.
Yes.
No,
I totally agree. And I don't know, but like I always say, you can't go by everything that you see. You got to do your own research, your own, and kind of go by what's coming into your chair, and kind of know that, like I said, it's okay to be a little bit different. And if you're not having consistent healed results, something is wrong. And it's okay to do you. At the end of the day, I'm not saying oh, you got to be like me or whatever, but you have to, you got to know what you're doing. You're doing a disservice to your client. And then the clients, when they talk about one PMU artist, it's almost like they're talking about the whole PMU industry, and then it makes clients scared. It's the reason why it should, we should be so much more mainstream than we are. But there's so much botched work out there, people not knowing their colors, people not knowing their needles. And I encourage my students, and I encourage whoever's listening to go and watch on YouTube a true tattoo artist like tattoo a bee or a flower or something of that nature over and over again, because it will help you when you incorporate. You're a body artist, right? That's what you get. You get a body artist license. So yes, we're PMU artists. Maybe we don't go as deep as a tattoo artist, but you need to incorporate both to be a successful artist. And you do need to know your skin's under and overtones, and you need to know how to work on a variety of people, because even if you have a page of all blacks or a page of all races, you're gonna get those one-offs here and there.
Yeah, no, it's true. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of really unattractive, bad, botched work being done right now in our industry. And for the industry to, be a well-respected industry where the public wants our services.
Exactly.
That's dependent on artists educating themselves, right?
It starts with us.
It starts with us educating ourselves. And that involves learning multiple needle configurations, not just one or two, not just singles and three liners. This requires artists to learn multiple needle configurations, multiple movements which implant pigment, not just one movement, but we've got like 6 different movements we can take advantage of.
Sure. Sometimes I use them all.
Sometimes I use them, I'll use 3 or 4 in one eyebrow. I mean, I'll whip shade a little bit.
I use a little bit of everything.
Yes. So but that's what it's gonna take to start minimizing, this really bad botched work that we're seeing. Because clients are not, a lot of clients are not happy. We just had a client come into the studio, and she was going back every 9 to 10 months for her ombre brow. Yeah, here in town.
But why would the artist keep doing it?
Because the artist gets to make that $350, $400 every 9 to 10 months. And so,
it's not worth it.
Right. And so she came into the studio, and she just, it was, she was at 10 months, and she just felt something wasn't quite right, that it shouldn't be fading that much, and it was getting expensive, right? It was getting expensive. So, here's me like, no, it should be lasting a lot longer than 10 months.
Oh, for sure.
And on average, my brow clients get right around, I would say, between 2 and 3 years. Anywhere is like right around
about
there.
2 or 3 years.
Yes. But Tamia, so many artists feel they're going to lose income if clients are getting that long out of.
Once a year even is too much sometimes.
For some skin types, once a year
for some skin
is going to.
Once a year is too much. People come to my studio all the time. They'll be like, "I need a touch up." I'm like, "No, you don't." Well, let's wait 10 months or a year.
And what's funny is some artists out there have their clients convinced that they have to come every single year, whether they need it or not. Just you have to come once a year to maintain your brows, whether there's still great saturation or not. So, I mean, I'm really learning this. I'm just discovering.
Oh, no, I know, Teryn.
That there's.
And I mean, once you explain it to the client, they get it. I'm like, honey, you have to have more room for ink.
Yes.
I gotta see some skin a little bit. It has to, some of the color, it needs to tone down for us to like brighten it back up. We don't want just layers and layers and layers of ink. It's gonna look bad, and it's not good for your skin. No, it's not. Well, what we're dealing with is, I think clients that we're seeing are a little confused, because we're just getting an influx of clients, because a lot of artists have stepped out of the industry. We see a lot of places closing down. It's sad, but we're just seeing a lot of
artists, just not do this anymore because they're not building a good clientele. So we're getting clients that are emailing us or coming in for a consultation because they were with another artist. And some of them are really grateful that we're looking at them and saying, I know it's a year, but you are not ready. You've got good saturation. And they're like, oh, great. Thank you. And then we've got some clients who are like, well, no, I mean, I was told I have to come once a year to maintain it. I'm like, but you don't need it. You still have lots of great saturation. Your tone is still beautiful. You do not. Is fine. Yeah, you do not need it. And they'll argue with us because their last artist convinced them you have to come once a year, no matter what. How do you deal
with that, Teryn? Because sometimes I'll be like, I'm sorry, that artist is wrong.
No, that's what no, I do say that. I'll say, well, I don't agree with that. I just don't agree with that. You have lots of color. The tone is beautiful. And why go in and create a wound and do something for you that is not needed? And and pay for something that's not needed. You're probably going to get another whole year out of these eyebrows, sweetheart, Yes. And then once I understand it, they all kind of come around, but we've certainly have had some back and forth conversation with clients that are confused.
Right.
And not knowing which is correct and which is incorrect. Do I have to go back once a year no matter what? Or do I only come back when the color's, fading? It's fading enough to where I need to add more.
Why would I lie to you? I'm turning down money.
Exactly.
Why would I lie to you?
Exactly.
Yeah. I have no reason to lie.
Exactly.
Like, I care more about you and your skin and what it's going to look like, what it's going to age like, and what it's going to look like 5 years from now. You're going to end up needing removal because we put too much ink.
Yeah, exactly. Now it's just too solid and looks like a big old sticker and it's like, oh my Lordy. I know.
It looks terrible.
I know.
Yeah. So I am really excited to I'm just really excited to be with Girlz Ink crew. I always thought that you were very authentic, so
it gets me in trouble sometimes.
Oh God, me too. I'm like, oh my God, don't do that, Mia. Don't say that, or I have to reword it a different way.
Well, when I was younger, I used to be a little. When I was younger, I used to be a little more. I don't know if aggressive is the word, but maybe not as tactful on how I.
Your delivery.
My delivery. I was younger, and but as you get older, and you learn how to become more graceful and more tactful in your delivery. When you don't agree with someone or agree with someone's philosophies or agree with, what you see putting out there. And that's been me for a long time now is, it's just delivery, if you're out there screaming and forcing and being a know-it-all, no one's going to listen to you. But if you deliver information with good intent, grace, and transparency, more people will listen. And I love having a debate, a really good, healthy, keyword healthy debate
yes.
with artists that I don't agree with, or we do things really different. I love having conversations with artists that are different than me. But you can't always. Some of them get very defensive. Some people get very they'll get a little self-righteous. They'll argue. They can not everybody likes.
It's really
likes
hard
to have conversation.
It's hard to take your ego out of things.
Yeah,
it really is. Even for us, sometimes I have to take a step back and be like, whoa. You know what? Why don't you actually listen? Because sometimes listening leads to learning.
Yes. Yeah. No. Yeah. 100%. Myself included. We're not perfect.
Yeah,
humans.
Me too. 100%.
Right. So, well, hey, Tamia. This conversation was fantastic.
Me too. I had so much fun. I could do it over and over again with you.
Well, I think we covered just about everything that I wanted to cover with you. If you had one if you have, let's say you have an artist in front of you, let's say me, I'm about to do my very first Black woman. She's a fits, let's make it a little tough. She's a fit 6.
Okay.
She's dark. And if you only could give me one bit of advice, one piece of advice, what would it be?
It would be to take your time. Do not rush through the procedure. The ink oxidizes a lot differently. So sometimes you need to take your time because it takes a little longer to oxidize into the dermis and actually see the ink. So you want to take your time, and a lot of times there's a lot more, oh my God, I can't even think of the clear stuff that comes before the blood.
Lymph.
Help out there.
Lymph?
Lymph, yes. There's lymph fluid. Don't know why I had a brain freeze on that. But yes, there's lymph fluid that's coming out that will also push pigment out sometimes. So, just take your time and make sure that you're using a good ink. I would suggest like a hybrid or organic ink, and take your time and you'll be just fine. Yeah, if you know how to do brows, you can do them on anybody as long as you act accordingly per person, per skin type. And that's what I really learned to do, is to take my time. And I would say don't use a 1RL. That's another thing too. Yes, practice with other needles, and it will change your life.
Well, that was great advice. All right, you hang on. I'm going to say goodbye to our listeners, but don't go anywhere.
Okay.
Right. Well, that was Tamia Haynes, and great conversation on melanin skin. We get so many questions and emails from new artists about to venture into their first client with melanin-rich skin. So I think this episode is going to be really super helpful. And keep an eye out. You can follow Tamia on Instagram, Naturalistic Brows. You'll find her on Instagram. She's always posting really interesting posts. Sometimes they're educational. Great work. And keep an eye out for her new line for melanin-rich skin coming out probably sometime next year, actually. So we're all excited for that. So thanks for tuning in, hanging out with us today. We appreciate it. Stay in the pursuit of happiness, everyone, and we will see you next time.